Hi, my name is Army, uh, and welcome to Gapers podcast. Today we have Valerie from Robert Half here. Hi, um, hi Valerie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, Valerie. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good.
So tell our audience a little about where you work and the industry you work in.
So I am in like knee deep in the recruiting industry. I work for Robert Half, which was the first recruiting agency in the US. And so this year has been more challenging than all the other years. But definitely love the fast paced environment and meeting new people every day and helping them achieve their career goals and get them into a spot where they are happier within um, their career.
Interesting. So how did you come about working for a recruiting agency?
So, I started my career in retail and I love the fast-paced environment, but not so much the schedule. I'm not a night person. And so working, those late nights and then early mornings the next day just wasn't working for me.
Makes
And
sense.
so I yeah, it's not fun if you enjoy sleep. And so I found I somehow I don't even know what led me to it, but I found my way into the recruiting space and I love that it has that fast-paced environment. I'm still talking to a lot of new people every day. And it's never something that I would have expected for myself. When you choose your degree in college, my degree started out in nursing. I did not expect to be a recruiter,
Oh,
but I
nursing.
I love it. Yeah, it's
That's a whole
not
different
where I expected to be at
twist
all. Yeah.
from retail to nursing and then recruiting. But actually, if you think about it, the skills you need in these industries are kind of similar. I mean, you're talking to new people who require or need something from you. If you're a nurse, they require assistance. If you're a recruiter, they require advice.
Mhm.
If you are in retail, they require, I guess, clothes or items. But yeah, if you think about it, like all of these skills add up. So so with this recruiting agency that you were working with, how did uh, how did COVID-19 change you guys' experience of it?
It changed it a lot. So before COVID, I had basically no experience working remotely, just like a couple days here and
Mhm.
there if I needed to be home. But I have two daughters, so if I needed to be home but still needed to be available for work, that was it with the remote experience. And so
Mhm.
when COVID hit, I was working full time, like overnight at my kitchen table, and it was like a huge culture shock for me. I love like the chatter of the office and being able to easily talk to people and like have that fun, just fast-paced environment. And like then just sitting at my kitchen table with my child screaming in the background when I'm on the phone, like was not not
Was not
ideal.
the optimum. Yeah.
Um, no, it was very stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine a
But I
person who really
found that
enjoys commu- communicating with a lot of people, stuck in a kitchen table, surrounded by children. Oh yeah, nightmare.
yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, like, but now after a year and settled in more, I actually love it. And I feel like I am able to talk to more people because everything is virtual. Like, we would not be able to talk, normally. I mean, I guess we could, but like, everybody's more open to everything virtual these days, and so I'm able to reach more people that way.
That is so interesting because a lot of companies have at least said that, oh, going virtual makes it difficult to get clients. You know, everybody's busy. You're not having that face-to-face interaction. But you bring up the point that hey, it's actually allowed you to meet more people. Why do you think that's the case?
Mhm. I think people these days are striving to they really want to interact and speak with people and see people outside of their
So
home.
they're just
Um,
talk to a recruiter. Is that what you're saying, Valerie?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I found that before COVID hit, I've never like FaceTimed with a client.
Hmm.
I would FaceTime with candidates if needed, if they couldn't come into the office. But now, um, FaceTime, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, those are my main ways of communication. Or like I'll even do like live videos on on social media sites. And I find that I have a lot more interaction because people like seeing a friendly face. And so like I've never been on video calls more in my life. And I actually really love it because then there's no commute time between going to different
Yeah, that's
people.
true.
Um, so I find that I actually see more faces a day than I did before
Then you
COVID.
would have, yeah, if you're working in person. Interesting. Okay. So,
Yes.
with the
Yeah.
candidates you source, could you tell us a bit more about what candidates to usually source? Is there a specialization which Robert Half has?
Yeah, so Robert Half specializes in a lot of different um, areas, but I specifically do finance and accounting. And
Hmm.
so I hire anybody from like a bookkeeper position up to a CFO level position and everything in between. And so I meet with a lot of different backgrounds and experiences every single day. Just when it comes down to finance and accounting, that's where my specialty lies.
Oh, okay. So, with this huge range of people who you deal with, from bookkeepers to CFOs, have you seen an increase or decrease in a specific segment?
Right now, it kind of goes in waves. But right now I'm seeing a lot more on the higher end side of that. The bookkeeper pick back up, but I'm seeing more of it with the like accounting managers, controllers, and CFOs, where those are there's more jobs there and there's more people looking, and not everybody feels comfortable moving positions right now. And I think maybe those people at the salary ranges that they're at have more of a comfortability level to switch jobs right now.
I understand. So, with huge layoffs as well, how has that changed the number of interactions you guys as recruiters face every day? Like, are people looking for jobs, or is it more of a, what do you call, uh uh hearsay?
It it's actually interesting because a lot of people who have lost their jobs are making more on unemployment than they were in their jobs. And so I have, which is like a really weird place to be because there's, more people unemployed than there have been in years.
Hmm.
And I have a ton of companies that are looking to hire, but I'm finding that it's still a candidates market where the candidates kind of drive the salary and
Yeah,
have that choice because they don't have to work because the unemployment is paying them really well.
exactly. Yeah, but that also, how would you how would you say this would impact or look in the future? Let's say 6 months or a year has already passed. I feel like it's gonna be a huge impact on the government.
hmm I completely agree. And I think people that are comfortable on the unemployment are going to be left behind because they may be getting a paycheck every day that's covering their bills. But there are people who um, are out there looking at positions and willing to work even though it maybe makes the same as their unemployment. But their career path is, going to be progressing, whereas somebody who's sitting on unemployment and not necessarily motivated to find a position, their career path is at a standstill. And I think when it comes down to it, everybody understands there were a lot of layoffs when it came to COVID, and that was not in anybody's control. But I think if you don't have a very good reason for not getting back into the job market, I think that can hinder somebody's career, down the line.
Okay, so for a person who was laid off and who's trying to find a job, but for some reason, it's not working out, the pay isn't worth it. They are slightly incentivized by the unemployment benefits to stay home. What would you,
Mhm.
what advice would you give to them as a recruiter? How should they spend these next 6 months or a year or two?
Yeah, well, and I think, there's different reasons for everybody to not want to get back into the job market. I understand there's like a health concern, if you're high
Hmm.
risk and or maybe you have kids that are doing e-learning and like how do you go to a job and like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on.
True.
But I think the best thing that people can do if they are on unemployment is to continue growing their skills. And you don't necessarily need to spend money to do that. You can look on YouTube, you can find free trainings, you can get books from your library just to progress your skills, um, to make sure that your skills are staying, um, front of mind, and that when you do get back into the job market, you have an answer when they say like, "What have you been doing this past year?" And you're like, "Oh, perfect! I've been learning this. I've been doing this. I've been e-learning my kids, and I had a health concern, so I didn't want to get back into the job market, but I have all these new skills that are fresh." And I think that would be a really strong re-entry back into a position.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like a lot of people I hear are going into tech if they haven't already had an experience in it. So a lot of people are sitting at home and they're thinking, why don't I learn programming? Why don't I learn some kind of
Hmm.
technology which would help me when in 6 months or a year I will be able to apply for a job as a software engineer, or maybe as a manager who has some knowledge about technology advancements. Um, what has your
Hmm.
experience been around people who do this? Like, are they actually doing it? How much would you say they're doing it?
I have only met maybe a handful of people who are doing this, and I would say that um, they're most of them that I've spoken with that are doing this are searching for a good position, not looking to make, to jump into any position, but searching for a really good next career step. And while they're unemployed, they're doing all of these things. And I find, they are entering the market, and entering into a position that is much higher. The salary is better, or the opportunity is better, the title is better, than when they were laid off. And so it's really making a helping their career jump by learning skills while you're looking for your next position.
Perfect. But let's change gears a bit. One of our follower wanted to know a bit more about why should they choose, or why should they go after a recruiting agency versus just leveraging their network or school alumnus, uh, their networks, rather than going to recruiting agency. And I wanted your take as a professional recruiter. What value does a recruiting agency bring?
So I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think we bring
No
a lot of
problem.
value. If you are um, if you're working full time or you're doing e-learning and learning new skills, looking for a new career is like a full-time job in itself.
Mhm.
And so, what I offer my candidates is tell me exactly what you're looking for. We'll go through all of your skills and I will search on your behalf. And so then I only bring positions that I know match my candidates' salary requirements, their location requirements, whether it's like the commute they're looking for or it's a remote position, um, and like the work life balance. And then also that they match what the client is looking for. So I'm not wasting anybody's time. It really narrows down on all the noise that you would find on job boards.
Hmm.
And then also when it comes down to, it's Women's Month this month, and so I don't know when
Yes.
you're going to be posting this, but one thing that contributes to the wage gap is that women especially don't negotiate their worth because they're
Mhm.
I'm not speaking for everybody, but typically it's because they're afraid. Where men, they ask for what they want and they'll negotiate until there's like some even ground met. And so a recruiter can do the not the recruiting. A recruiter can do the negotiating for you. So, like if I am working with a candidate and I know that this is their minimum salary requirement, but this is what they would really like to have, I'm gonna fight for them because it not only like yes, I get paid a commission based on the salary I get them, but like I don't want to ever undersell somebody going into their next career, because we're trying to eliminate the wage gap. And so if you are not someone who likes to negotiate, using a recruiter is really helpful in that aspect, because if they're not negotiating for you, they're not doing you any justice. Every recruiter should be negotiating for you.
Yes,
Um,
yes, definitely.
and so I think that's like probably the biggest thing that could really help people. And then also, I have access to a lot of, I have a huge network of people who may not even be hiring today, but I reach out on my candidate's behalf all the time. Like, do you have
Mhm.
a position coming up that this candidate would be a fit for? And I'm able to move people into positions before they're even posted online, or maybe it's a confidential position they're replacing somebody who's not working out. And so there's a lot of really good benefits to working with a recruiter, especially if you are busy in your day-to-day life and don't have time to do all of that.
Yeah, especially because I heard somewhere that say 20% of the jobs are actually posted. 60% of the jobs come through networking and stuff, and from those 60%, a lot of the jobs are actually they're never posted. Like they're never
Mhm.
like on the company's website or the job board. Is just an internal thing which a manager or colleagues decide and have in mind, and they just refer whoever they think would be an appropriate fit. In this case, if they uh, have been working alongside a recruiter, the recruiter would have an idea of, okay, this company or this department requires somebody with this set of skills. So okay, I understand. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Well, Valerie, it's been
Mhm.
lovely talking to you. Do you have any other advice based on International Women's Day, based on any other recruiting advice you want to give to our uh, listeners? Floor is yours.
Um,
No pressure.
Always ask what you're worth. Always ask for what you're worth. Never like if you don't ask. I think this is a Madonna quote, very
Mhm.
loosely, but like if you don't ask for what you want, the answer will always be no.
That is so
So
true.
always ask for what you want, and always be expanding your knowledge and your network. I think are like probably the two things that apply to literally everybody, no matter what you do, what your goals are in
Mhm.
life. Always expand your knowledge and expand your network.
Well, thank you so much, Valerie. This has been great. We are Gabriel's podcast. 100 is great. Thank you for listening.